Dragon Ball Legends is having one of its most interesting years to date. And I say that when a lot of people have been debating if their character choices were actually good. And I'm here to say, I think this year has had some of my favorite character choices to date. Lots of Gokus, I will say, but at least it's Gokus from many different eras. And today, what we're attempting to do is predict the August LF, which we have our first hint for, all the way to the Big Daddy himself, Ultra, finishing off this year in Legends Fest 2025, including a small discussion over that new Shallot art. That art means something. Maybe it's during Fest, maybe it's right after Fest for the World Championships, but that Shallot art, it means something. And speaking of that Shallot art, it kind of almost looks like he's telling you to like the video. What? Now, first up is August. Typically, August is a solo LF month. It is when you follow up the anniversary. This anniversary, specifically in July, we got two Ultras. So if you're looking at this with the teaser that we just got, which is, there is planet Earth, father. I don't know why I said that as if I were Trunks, because that was definitely Mecha Frieza telling King Cold that line. So if you're already like planning in your head a way for it to be an LF and an Ultra, my guess is this is a cooldown month like every other August, and it's going to be a singular solo Legends limited unit. Now, as far as who that could be, Android Saga is a very specific cutoff. By the way, there is some stuff that you might have thought would be Android Saga, but instead actually is included in the Cell Saga section of the game. So that really leaves us, when you think about the Legends limited options here, with only really a few, because that Trunks moment is already represented very well. So my best guess is either an LF Yardrat Goku, an LF King Cold, and Mecha Frieza, because I do think LOE buffs are going to be continually coming throughout the rest of this year. More on that in a moment. Or last, but certainly not least, a Super Saiyan Vegeta, right? He was the Saiyan Day unit on Dokkan last year, and his representation in this game is very, very minimal. The last actual, specifically Super Saiyan Vegeta from the Android Saga was literally from the launch of Dragon Ball Legends. So he's absolutely due up for something new in this game. And then the side banner unit could be everything I've mentioned here, but I also think all of that could also be the Legends limited unit, because they are clearly being a little more experimental with characters this year. And my last little prediction for this month, a tag 19 and 20, because I think that would be really, really awesome. And even before getting this hint from Dragon Ball Legends Twitter, I'd already thought we were going to Android Saga, because there were multiple hints that we're going to talk about as we go throughout this video for other things we are predicting, like real actual hints that the game has actually laid out for us that I think will influence the characters we see and talk about right here in this video. And if it is Super Saiyan Vegeta, I'm going to use my beloved Super Vegeta. I know he's a red unit in a meta with a lot of yellows, but the stat buffs from part 2 and part 3 have been so insane. So I'm hoping that my training in this game, yes, I've been trying to get better at this game, will actually allow me to get at least some wins running a full Vegeta team with Super Vegeta, maybe Diamond SSA 3, and this new LF SSA Vegeta that I'm hoping that it is. And speaking of all the training I've been doing lately, you know who doesn't need training? Saitama. And the game based on him is sponsoring this video. One Punch Man Road to Hero 2.0 is an officially licensed strategy RPG based on the iconic One Punch Man anime. It blends stylish 2D visuals, slick combat, and deep character building. One of my favorite parts, the character cultivation system. You can use the extra cards you get to power up your squad. It's super beginner friendly, and your whole team gets stronger fast. And this game delivers when it comes to combat with Moomin Rider's Justice Crash, Puri Prisoner's Angel Rush, plus other signature moves that look and feel like they're straight from the anime. You can mix and match heroes and villains in endless formations to create ridiculous combos that feel great when you pull them off. There's a ton to do too. Battle Saitama's story, climb Extreme Trial Tower, dominate PvP tournaments, or try the Road to the Strong roguelike mode with path choices and buffs. Plus, Battle Will mode has your top 5 heroes train themselves, inspiring others to grow stronger too. And right now, there's a special gift code that's on screen, also down below in the description, that gives you 10 free draws to start off your journey. So just click the link down below in the description to download One Punch Man Road to Hero 2.0 today, again, for free, to try out the latest update. And when you do, let me know who you pull down below in the comments of this video. So thank you once again to One Punch Man Road to Hero 2.0 for sponsoring this video. Now that brings us to September. This is in the real unknown, right? We had a hint going into August. We have nothing here in September, or do we? So with August and their Android Saga selection, there were 2 Zenkais that are due up, and we're very much so pointing towards Android Saga coming up soon, or at least going back to future in some way. And that was with the future Gohan and the tagged androids, who it's going to be so funny if both of them Zenkai in August, when we only got one LF Zenkai throughout the entirety of the 7th anniversary. But I would definitely assume that one or both of those characters will Zenkai during that August celebration with the Android Saga. So coming into September, there are a couple of things that are honestly kind of crazy, I'm about to say. First off, the 3rd anniversary Gohan also needs a Zenkai. But secondly, because going into Android Saga, that means we will have made it, presumably anyway, all the way to September with, guess guess how many sagas from the movie characters released this year? Just guess. That's right, 0. The last new sagas from the movie character in the entirety of this game was Ultra Beast Gohan, the Legends Fest Ultra from 2024. This game loves sagas from the movies, as you guys know. I mean, it's where they draw a lot of characters from. So my best guess for September is that we are seeing movies. Now, I think this could go multiple ways, but first up, we're gonna go with a previous hint, and that is LOE. And I do think we are due up for more Lineage of Evil characters, and I do think this is gonna be a through line, at least up until this moment, which of course you can probably guess. I'm suggesting that September will be a Legends Limited and Ultra month. Could also be just double LF. They have started to show us that they like to do double LF months, literally just this year. Outside of anniversaries and outside of big celebrations, April was a double LF month with the Dragon Ball Saga celebration. March was insane. Not even anniversary, not even fest. They dropped an Ultra and 2 LFs in March specifically. And then January was also another double LF month. So my suggestion here is either Birdku, an LF Birdku, and then they give Final Form Cooler an Ultra, which maybe is the one I want the most, but also I don't know, because listen, man, I don't know if I've mentioned this here on the internet before, but I really like the Meta Cooler movie. Like when I was growing up, it was one of the only ways I was able to watch Dragon Ball like on demand. So I've seen that movie a lot. So my other suggestion are tag Super Saiyans from that film. That could also have a really cool like new style mechanic, okay? Because they fight multiple times and have an actual like outfit change and all kinds of stuff. And then the Ultra is Meta Cooler, or again, both of them could be LFs. Now on the flip side of that, to go back to what I was just discussing with Gohan, the other thing they could do for movies in September would obviously be a Bojack and a new Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So specifically the one we have right now has to revive to get to a Super Saiyan 2 state, but I say you go all out, you go literally just like the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan from Dokkan, and it's just straight up Super Saiyan 2 Gohan as the LF, no revival, no transformation, just raw Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and then you team that up with an Ultra Bojack, which would be very reflective of last year where we got the Tree of Might Goku LF into Insanity. They gave Turles an Ultra. Now I actually like Turles quite a lot, but in terms of like his probably hype level compared to the other Ultras in the game, I feel like for most people he would be on the lower side. I don't mean from Kit, I don't mean from this, I just mean pure raw character choice. So if they can give Turles one, I think they can give just about anybody one. But I do think with them doing the Android Saga stuff, I think these are both 50-50 options. Now, you guys know me, I have to cover as many bases as possible. If for some reason they don't go with movies, my guess is movies. I could still see some more Unirep stuff here. I don't think they are done with Unirep, and we are absolutely due up for a new Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and a hit. And since these games like to sort of mirror each other a little bit and sort of piggyback up off each other in close proximity, Golden Week on Dokkan earlier this year was literally the U6 versus U7, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku versus hit. And so I could definitely see a celebration doing that sometime at some point this year in Legends. I won't spend much time on this, but I also do think a 23rd World Tournament Dragon Ball Saga celebration could be somewhere with an LF Piccolo and an LF Goku. I just don't think they do it this fast, but it could be September. September does have some legacy with doing original Dragon Ball stuff with Path to Power Kid Goku, so it's like maybe. That brings us to October. Again, you're gonna hear me say this, but it could be an Ultra and an LF month, or could just be a double LF month. My reasoning for this is because we saw them sort of do a step back on Ultras pre-anniversary, so that way they could release 2 Ultras during 7th Anniversary's Part 3, because typically when we go into an anniversary, we will have had 2 Ultras released prior to the anniversary. Like literally every other year, and in the more modern era, we've had 2 Ultras. Before 5th Anniversary in 2023, we had Hit and we had Goku Black. In 2024, before 6th Anniversary, we had Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and Golden Frieza. And then this year, there's obvious thing in the air because you're like, wait, we only got Cell. We're now in the 7th Anniversary. Something's up. And something was up. It was 2 Ultras for the first time ever at the same time during 7th Anniversary Part 3. My only argument against that is that when we get to Legends Fest, Part 2 of Legends Fest and Part 3 of Legends Fest are in the same month. If you guys have never paid too much attention to this game, they very much so move in a month-to-month basis. They have, I guess, a quota maybe they're trying to meet each month, so they release a certain amount of characters in a designated month. The thing is, if they were to ever do double Ultra for Legends Fest Part 3, that means either A, they've probably taken an LF away from Part 2, which is possible, or they have broken free and is going crazy because they're going to release in December 2 LFs and 2 Ultras, and that just seems a little crazy. So with that in mind, because we should at least still see 3 Ultras between now and the end of the year, I do think it is possible that we could see September and October, just like last year, be both LF and Ultra months back to back. So here are my 3 suggestions for the themes here. If you guys have not paid attention to this year, now that we know we're going into Android Saga, as far as Dragon Ball Z sagas that are like actually separated by Dragon Ball Legends. We've had a Saiyan Saga celebration, we've had a Frieza Saga celebration, we've had a Cell Saga celebration, and now with this hint for an Android Saga celebration, we've had an Android Saga celebration. So the only one left by Dragon Ball Legends standards is a Majin Buu Saga celebration. That is the only release they've not done this year. So my setup here for that is absolutely a Legends limited Buuhan, because come on, this character is so underrepresented, and you're in a year where they do seem to be a little more acceptable of, I guess, what we would typically consider not like the supreme hype character. They're allowing like some of the lesser characters to actually have like a moment to shine, which again, I think is not a bad thing. Although I say this as I'm talking about Buuhan, which for me, Buuhan is a very hype character. I just want to put that out there. And then they compare that up with what they've shown is they like to do revamps of things, and end of the Super Saiyan Goku Spirit Bomb, right? It could be literally another Super Saiyan 3 character, and it could be the Ultra. It could be the Ultra, and it could be something that they utilize this new supporter thing they're talking about, right? Because especially with a Spirit Bomb specifically, that is definitely something they could do, and it would be integral to this new supporter style ability that they are talking about. So that's going to be my first up, and that is definitely something that is a theme and something that we could be picking up on here throughout this year, is that they are attempting to hit all of the Dragon Ball Z sagas. So do not be surprised, even though 2024 was sort of the year of Majin Buu Saga, don't be surprised that we revisit it at least once, so they can be cheeky and basically say they hit all of the Z sagas in 1 year. Now, if they were not to go that route, I do think GT is also due up, and I think GT will more than likely be heavily involved with Legends Fest. And so here's my suggestion for a GT setup, and that would be, you're probably thinking I'm going to mention villains. I'm not. They all got LFs last year. Of course, they could get an Ultra, so it wouldn't be that surprising. First up, we have a Super Oob LF. Majub Super Oob. I'm going to call him Super Oob now, because that's what Gex and Squadra is calling him, so I'm going to start calling him that too. But I think this guy easily is Legends Limited worthy, and honestly, I would love to see one, and if they were to do that, I would team that up with an Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Now, if for some reason Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta ends up being involved in Legends Fest, then I did have a slight piggyback up where they pair up Oob with his villain counterpart of Super Baby. So it could be an Ultra Super Baby, which, listen, at that point, the Super Baby 2 LF would be over a year and a half old. So it would be due up for them to maybe do something with him. And again, to buff GT, to buff powerful opponents, all of that. So that is a possibility. Last but not least, and I have to mention this because of Shallot going to Sparking Zero, and it will be the 1 year anniversary of Sparking Zero, we could potentially see a collaborative character here with Gohan Black. They've done nothing with this character in Sparking Zero, which is really baffling. He's still not playable. Nuts. Anyways, this character has a ton of animations they could pull from, and they could easily create a Legends Limited Gohan Black character from Sparking Zero to be a collaborative thing and to help celebrate the 1 year anniversary and all of that, right? It's just easy cross promo. And because that's a future character, it would be a super easy alley-oop into an Ultra or another LF BBS Trunks, right? A Sword of Hope Trunks, because they haven't touched that moment in 4 years now, which is crazy. But these are genuinely things I do believe we could see this year. Now that does bring us to the impossible, which is trying to predict a massive celebration on this game months in advance, right? Especially coming off of the 7th anniversary, where nothing really went as we had predicted and as we had presumed. The only thing was that we knew a UI Goku was coming. We just all thought he'd be an Ultra, and he wasn't. So going into this year, I really do think that the tag Super Gogeta that people want to see, or the tag Super Saiyan 4s into a Gogeta, is a possibility. I do think they are sitting on a fusion somewhere. I know we just got Kefla, but I think a lot of times when people talk fusions, they are specifically thinking of the Goku and Vegeta fusions. Gotenks and Kefla are cool. I think when people are talking fusions, or maybe the overabundance of them specifically, they're not really referring to Kefla or Gotenks. They're referring to the Goku and Vegeta fusions. But I do think that those two characters are primed and ready, and they've not done anything with Synchro Gauge literally since their 6th anniversary counterparts. And so I do believe that those could be here. And as much as I would love to obviously see a Vegito Blue one of those, I don't think they're cheeky enough to go from VB being a Part 1 Fest headliner to VB being another Part 1 Fest headliner, like back to back like that. Sure, maybe in 2026, but not this year, being a literal just year off of that. But I think if we see the Synchro Gauge thing used again, I think, and they being the next one, I think it'll be Tag 4s or Tag Super Saiyans that go into Super Gogeta. And I think, again, we've had just such little movie representation that we're going to see a lot of movies involved with probably Legends Fest. And I want to believe, since we are 5 years out, that Broly would be here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick to it. And I'm going to say LF Broly could be one of the part 1 units for Fest this year. Now that brings us to December, which I just spoke about. That includes both part 2 of Fest and part 3, the final character of the year. My guess, truly, and I've not mentioned this yet, but we have to bring it up, is they're not going to let Daima just completely die and sit there for forever. Now, Daima could have been one of the previous months for sure, but I do think if Daima hasn't shown up, Daima will show up during Fest, because there are two, well, really there's like more than two, but there are two main huge outliers here that do not exist in the game, and that is Mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Mini Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Now, the others that I'm obviously referring to here would be, you know, things like Tamagami 1, Tamagami 2, Goma, the little main villain of this. As much as I want to believe they'll give Goma a Legends Limited character, I do think he could also be a side banner unit to Mini SSJ 4 Goku. I mean, they really cooked with Ku and Do. Like, Ku and Do look awesome. And same thing with Mini SSJ 3. They could team up in Mini SSJ 3 and they could honestly just slap a tag Super Saiyan 3 Do with a Ku. Like, I think I really do think a Ku and Do tag unit would be really, really cool in this game. But that's my first suggestion for part 2, because I do think in some way we see Daima show up between now and the end of the year, because Daima was a menace, and now they've done so much to combat a lot of Daima's sort of like oppressive abilities, like the card locks and all of that. Like, there's so many characters now that can really negate a lot of that stuff, that Daima is still, I think, viable in the right hands, but it is not as dominant as it was, obviously. A lot of things changed after part 2 and part 3 of this year's anniversary. Now, if they don't go that route, they could obviously team up like a Mini SSJ 4 with something else, because last year was Daima Goku with SSJ 3 Goku. It was such a strange team up, but listen, it proves that they don't really care about thematics, like really at all. I mean, it was Goku for both characters, but drastically different versions of him. So I think we are also due up. If they weren't to go with Broly for part 1, then Broly could be part 2, and you'll probably find out I'm going to suggest Broly for part 3. Sorry, spoilers. I just really want a new freaking DBS Broly. Like, dog, what are we doing? But I talked about this idea a little bit earlier with the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, whereas we don't have a version of him that can come out and just be immediately Super Saiyan 2 Gohan from the Bojack film, right? I say every other character, there's not, what is there, like 2 of him in this game? 3, 2? Specifically, I can go to Super Saiyan 2, and neither of them start out as Super Saiyan 2, but Orange Piccolo just solo by himself is not a character in this game. You have to revive, and even then, there's only one Orange Piccolo in the entirety of the game. So I do think they could team that up here, and he is a perfect part 2 unit to incorporate into Legends Fest. And by the way, speaking of DBS Broly, I didn't mention this, but there was a concept that I reacted to a couple months ago, and that concept is what I want out of a DBS Broly. I want to see them incorporate the sync or gauge, the active ability button, if you will, in the game to allow for more transformations. I would love to see, as I'm saying this with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and with Orange Piccolo, them coming out of the gates and just being there, I think it'd be cool to have a Broly that can go through multiple transformations to get to his full power state in more unique ways. I'm always going to be a proponent of like more unique ways to play this game. So I would love to see them do something like that concept that they were able to cook up for Broly. That would be really cool to see actually in the game. Now that brings us to the Ultra. And I talked about GT in part 1, but I'm going to talk about GT again right here. That is Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I do think we are due up for an Ultra SSJ 4 Goku. You'll notice I'm not mentioning Legends Limited. I don't know. I'm a little bit more lukewarm on this. You guys know I'm always going to bring it up to some extent, as I literally am right now. But as much as I really am actually excited to see Legends Limited, I know a lot of people are like, we don't want to see it because of rates. I'm like, but we have to somewhat trust in them to hopefully deliver on that. But I just want to see what they do with it, like from a visual standpoint, and what a Legends Limited Ultra looks like in this game. Really, like, or what they might call it, Ultra Limited. I don't know, whatever. I just want to see what it looks like. But not really bringing that here. We do still have some Ultras left on the table for sure that they wouldn't need to access the Legends Limited yet. And Super Saiyan 4 Goku is absolutely one of them. And I think the ink art would be awesome. I want to see him standing on that rock. Like, and I think that GT will show up and be sprinkled in here and there from now, and especially until once we get to the 8th anniversary. If they don't go with the Super Saiyan 4 Goku route, then Unirep, and coming back to Unirep, you know, a Unirep character that has a really nice LF, but could definitely be an Ultra character. And I'm going to mention it again because I do think Ultra tags are coming sooner than later, but that's Goku and Frieza. I do genuinely believe an Ultra Goku and Frieza will happen sooner than later, especially now that we have sort of entered an era where we're getting some more Unirep characters, and they are sort of like the Unirep characters. character, right? Goku and Frieza. Piggybacking off of that tag ability, I've yapped about this one a lot, but I really want to see a Super Saiyan God Goku and Vegeta. I think this would also be a really cool character to utilize like an in-game transformation mechanic that could be an active, right? Because with your main ability on a tag switch character is to quite literally tag and able to incorporate that sort of additional ability to transform in game with that synchro gauge, they could do that with the Super Saiyan God Goku and Vegeta, which would give us a really sick intro for both of them. With when they go Super Saiyan God, both of them in that film is absolutely beautiful. The tag Super Saiyan Gods, or they're not tags, but the duo Super Saiyan Gods from Dokkan look awesome, and they could give them their transformation into their blue state mid-game, and that would be really cool too. So that's another one I think I really want to see. And then finally, and I said I'd mention him, but Broly, dog, if he hasn't shown up at this point, I'm gonna be such an advocate for Ultra DBS Broly, and I really do believe he could be the like, listen man, if they can give Beast Gohan his third character in the span of 3 years, or really in the span of 2 years technically, because it's 2022 only to 2024, right? They can let DBS Broly just have his moment and let him be the finishing year Ultra. And then there's this Shallot. All right, this art is, I just don't believe this is just promo art for their world championship. I'm sorry, I'm not believing it. I 100% believe they gave him this Platyquip that again currently only exists for Ultras, okay? He's the only non-Ultra that has one of these. I believe that was a hint, that was a tease. Maybe he just wasn't ready yet, I'm not sure. But I do believe that they are going to take Shallot up to an Ultra. It just seems like the natural progression for this character. And they haven't given us, at this point, especially given the fact that if they do this prior to the World Championship, it will be for Fest. They might wait for the World Championship, which will literally wrap up like a month after Fest ends. So it is possible they wait for that and reveal it there. Either way, whether it be during Fest or the World Championship, if we make it out of both of those celebrations, I don't know how much they're going to do. Anyways, you guys get what I'm saying. Without Ultra Shallot becoming a thing, what are we doing? And why did they cook so hard on the art? Like, that literally looks like Ultra art. Like, I could visualize that, like, moving. You know what I mean? Like, it just screams Ultra Shallot art to me. And it's been so long since they've done anything with a free-to-play Ultra that I feel like it's deserved at this point. I don't know. That's just my own thoughts on that, okay? So thanks again to One Punch Man Road to Hero 2.0 for sponsoring this video. You can check it out by clicking the link down below in the description. If you're looking for more content here on this channel, you can click right there. And I'll see you guys over there in that video. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!